Hey guys, welcome back to Hype RC. In today's video, we have the newest release from Team Associated and Element RC. This is the new Enduro12 Ecto. Now, the Ecto is my personal favorite 10-scale crawler that I have in my collection. I have the Ghostbuster Ecto 1 custom build. I'll have a link for that video at the end of this one if you want to check that out. But today, we're going to get this thing unboxed, see what comes with it, and then take it for a little crawl inside. Mother Nature is not really cooperating with 5 inches of snow outside, so we're going to do what we can, but let's get this thing over to the bench and see what comes out of the box. All right, guys, the Enduro12 Ecto is a true RT art. It has everything you need inside the box. It's got some really nice box art. It comes with everything except for the AA batteries for the transmitter. But let's go ahead and take a look in here. It says it comes with a board game, and that's something I've never seen from Enduro before. So there is the board game inside. That looks cool. That's something we can get set up and play with the kids later on. But let's go ahead and take a look at the rig. So we have an instruction manual, some Team Associated information, a really nice set of decals to go ahead and sticker up this thing with some neat livery. And then we've got this box. Let's see what we got in here. So this guy comes out. We got a little box inside the box. Let's see what we have in here. So get this open. It looks like we have a 2S 850 milliamp Reedy LiPo battery, and then some Allen keys, a servo horn, and some body mounts, and then a USB charger. Now let's see what else is in here. It looks like we've got the remote inside here. Let's see what this is. So this looks like a Fly Sky, and yes, indeed, it is actually a 4-channel Fly Sky. This is a very nice remote. I've had this on a few other rigs. This does everything you need it to do, so we are not going to have to upgrade that right out of the box. That's super sharp. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the rig itself. Oh, that's super sharp looking. Very nice. I like the red on this rig. That is super sharp. So let's go ahead and get this thing out of the bag. We'll get it set up and take an up-close look at it. All right, guys, here she is, and this thing is absolutely killer looking out of the box. This looks like almost an exact duplicate of the 10th scale rig. We have the mirrors, the same roll bar. The bed looks to be a tiny bit different, but still very well done. I am super impressed with this rig. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the stickered up windows, nor am I a huge fan of this front faux winch and bumper style. This is the same thing they had on the 10th scale, but it looks like they've created a way to go ahead and get that bumper tucked in to create a better incline approach angle. So we're definitely going to take a look at doing that out of the box. But all in all, this thing looks super killer. These tires actually aren't name brand licensed tires like they usually do. They actually feel a little stiff, but they feel very sticky. But I think these foams are definitely going to have to be addressed on these. These black 8-spoke rims look very nice on this rig as well. But let's go ahead and get the body off and take a look underneath the hood on this rig. All right, guys, now that we got the body off, let's go ahead and take a look underneath the hood on this rig, and I am extremely impressed with what I'm seeing so far. So we do have a 2-in-1 ESC receiver combo. This is from Fly Sky. It is a 40-amp ESC with a 6-volt BEC. Now, this is the Reedy 380 brush motor connected to a 3-geared transmission, which is super sharp. I really like the layout of this chassis. It has multiple mounting shock locations, so we can go ahead and try to tune those shocks in. Now, these are all plastic shocks, but they are oil filled, and they actually feel pretty nice right out of the box. This thing is super tough looking. Now, the battery mounting location is right here in the rear, but these two holes over here looks like you can swap that up front and go ahead and move the weight forward on this vehicle. We also have kind of some odd looking mounts here. I'm guessing that those might be for some skid plates or something else down the road. Now let's go ahead and take a look on the bottom of this vehicle. So we do have 4 links in the front and rear. Now this is a plastic skid plate. We do have plastic drive shafts and plastic straight axles, which are nice. We do have steel front steering links on this rig and a very odd size looking servo on the front of this vehicle. I'm not quite sure what size that servo is, but it's definitely in between micro and standard. We'll have to go ahead and take a look at upgrading that down the road with a lot of other things on this. But right out of the box for $200, this looks very impressive. So I'm going to go ahead and get some batteries charged up, and we'll get this thing out for a crawl. All right, guys, let's get a quick weight on our rig before we run it. So this is box stock without the battery installed, and I am pleasantly surprised with what I'm seeing. So it has a front biased weight of 55% to a 45 in the rear and an exact 50-50 left to right. So they have done a great job with managing the weight on this rig right out of the box. All right, guys, I had an absolute blast getting out and running the new Enduro12 Ecto. This thing was a ton of fun, and Mother Nature did us a huge favor. We went from having 5 inches of snow on the ground to 58 degrees and sunny. Now, the rocks were a little bit wet, and it was muddy out, which hindered performance a little bit, but we got to run this thing inside and out for the unboxing, which was just awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about the pros and the cons on this rig. So the number one pro for this is absolutely the fact that you can get an Ecto rig for $199. The 10 scale rig is $399, and for half price, you can get a almost full scale size crawler for entry level and get you into the hobby for 199 bucks. Generally, you're looking more at micro crawlers for that price range, but for $199, you're getting a ton of rig. Next is the fact that this little 380 brushed motor and the 3-geared transmission performed very, very well. Lots of speed, very good on modulation, and tons of torque on this little thing. So I was extremely impressed with that. Next is the layout of the chassis. So there's a ton of adjustability on this rig with the chassis, and I'm extremely impressed with how they did that for this price. So that is another great thing about this rig. And next is the 4-link on the front and rear of this vehicle. So no panhard bar on the front of this rig, and I really like having a 4-link on a vehicle that crawls. It just performs better in my opinion. Next, let's talk about the cons on this rig, and we have multiple ones. And the first one is absolutely the wheels and the tires on this thing. They are absolutely horrible. They are glued on, so it's not a bead lock. You can't take them off and change them. The foam is stiff, and the wheels have absolutely no grip whatsoever. Now, generally, the first thing you change out on a crawler, especially an RTR, are the wheels and the tires, and this one is not going to be any different, but I was just extremely disappointed with how bad they did. Next is the drag brake. So this thing will not hold on an incline or a decline, and I think that has to do with a rig this big on a 380 brushed motor. It just doesn't have enough stopping power to hold this thing in place on the rock. So I was a little bit disappointed with that. And then the servo on this is a very odd size servo. It's not a full size and it's not a micro. It's somewhere in between. And I'm going to want to upgrade that. I mean, it does fine for an RTR, but me, I'm going to need more power when I start really upgrading this rig. And it's really a weird size. So I'm going to have to look into either figuring out a way to mount a full size or hopefully find something that is that size that is an upgrade for this rig. And then the last con is I was wrong about the battery. This actually comes with a lithium ion battery instead of a LiPo, which I was surprised when I actually got it to the charger and looked at it and found out that it is a lithium ion. So I understand why they would do that, because this is kind of an entry-level rig, and the lithium-ion battery is much safer than a LiPo, but me, I like the punch that a LiPo has, and I'm definitely going to be upgrading to that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the 4 free upgrades for this. All right, guys, let's go ahead and go over the 4 free and easy upgrades for your Enduro12 Ecto. And the first one is going to be to lower these body posts. Now, if you want to get extremely aggressive with this one, you're going to have to trim some of the body down here below the door and up here near the front of the bumper. But for guys that just want a quick and easy one, you lower each one of these down 1 notch. and then that's going to lower the body down, which is going to lower the center of gravity. The second free and easy upgrade is going to be to go ahead and move those shock locations to the furthest most in locations on the front and the rear, which is going to significantly lower the center of gravity of this vehicle, and it's going to flatten out those links, which is really going to help you crawl over the top of rocks. The next one is to go ahead and move that battery tray from the rear of the vehicle right up here by the servo. And these holes are already located up front, so that's really going to move the weight of that battery up front over the front axle, which is a huge benefit on a crawler. And then the last one is to go ahead and move this front bumper in as far as possible. So you can see I took off that faux winch. And for you guys that want to be very aggressive with this one, just like I did on my Ecto tent scale, you can go ahead and trim the front part of the chassis off, which will allow you to tuck that front bumper in even further. And then once you do that, you find the location where these two screws go in, and you go in and drill some new holes in this mount right here and go ahead and mount those all the way down and in. Now, I don't know where this is going to sit once I go ahead and cut the front of the chassis, so I haven't done that yet. But for you guys that want a quick and easy one, just remove that front winch and slide it in as far as possible, drill those holes out, and go ahead and mount those screws in permanently, and that will give you a much better approach angle on this vehicle. So that is the 4 easiest upgrades I've ever done to a crawler right out of the box to lower the center of gravity, move the weight forward, and have a much better approach angle on the front of this vehicle. I'm extremely impressed with this rig. I've got a ton of upgrades coming for it. We're really going to get this thing crawling smooth and really make this thing do something special. I really like the 12 scale. I think it's going to perform very well on 10 scale rock courses once I get a few upgrades on it. So don't forget to support your local hobby shops. Bash, crawl, repeat. Hit that subscribe and like button for me and ring the bell so you can catch my next video. We'll see you next time.